Welcome to Dear Tay, You Got This. This podcast is a weekly motivational love letter to those who are looking for a change, are currently going through a change, and they need just a little pick-me-up. Tay is a transformation and spiritual coach and author who understands that one small habit over 1 year can create a lifetime of growth. First, we will talk about our topic, and at the end of each episode, I will do a trinity. The trinity is a brag, gratitude, and desire. If you'd like to share your wins, questions, and trinity, please call or text 330-552-7234 to be featured on the podcast. I love hearing about your success and how you are transforming. To learn more about your host, visit her Instagram page, Phoenix of Change. In 2022, I decided that I wanted to be more consistent in my business. And one of the ways that I thought to do that was to grow my TikTok following. Now, at the time, I was making videos, but I didn't feel like they were reaching the audience that I was looking for. So what did I do? I needed to have a catch. So my catch was doing sock videos. And basically what that means is I got on TikTok every morning. I uploaded a video saying, hey, these are my socks for the day, my motivational speech, and then showed everyone my socks. Surprisingly enough, I ended up having over 230 plus pair of socks. And trust me, the collection is still extensive. Now, the 230 pairs grows every single day, every single week, every single month. But I can tell you that one of the places that I ended up getting socks from was Chakra Wonders. When I went on their website, not only did I see that they had socks, but I also saw that they had artwork, mugs, hats, and even some books. It is such a great place to go to, especially if you're looking for something that is going to... What I love about Chakra Wonders is that it's an organization that provides products and accessories to those interested in astrology, metaphysics, and self-healing practices. Their mission is to build a resort-style facility structured around modern and advanced holistic and naturopathic therapies for physical and spiritual healing. When you make a purchase, you are helping them build a holistic sanctuary for wellness and renewal. Go to chakrawonders.com and use coupon code DEARTAY to receive 15% off your purchase. That is chakrawonders.com. Chakra Wonders is an organization that provides products and accessories to those interested in astrology, metaphysics, and self-healing practices. Their mission is to build a resort-style facility structured around modern and advanced holistic and naturopathic therapies for physical and spiritual healing. When you make a purchase, you are helping them build a holistic sanctuary for wellness and renewal. Go to chakrawonders.com and use coupon code DEARTAY to receive 15% off your purchase. That's CHAKRAWONDERS.com. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this week on Dear Tay, You Got This. I have Emily Kloss here, who is just, she's an amazing individual. I'm going to give you guys just a little tidbit about her, and then I'm going to tell you exactly how I met this woman, because I'm so glad that I met her. So she is a yogipreneur trying to make her way as an entrepreneur from a yogic perspective. She teaches yoga and cultivates growth. And how I met Emily was through my friend Sarah. She had actually talked about her for a long time, and she was just like, Sarah is such a sweetheart. She's always like, oh, Tay, I think that you would get to know this person really well, and you guys would be great together, and all of this. And I'm just like, okay, cool. And at the time, at the beginning of 2024, Emily was creating a workshop for alignment. And I thought that was super cool because I had been doing my chakra alignments over the last few years, and I was like, oh, this would be something that I would really be interested in. And for the month of January, for 3 Sundays, we went to her yoga studio with all of her plants, and we did different activities. And I learned so much about myself within that process that I was just like, I have to have Emily on my podcast. And this was before I even started the podcast. Like, I think I contacted you, like a month and a half, 2 months before. And I was like, so can we like meet up and talk about my podcast and how I want you on it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I feel like everything that I went through during that alignment was exactly what I needed for myself. And I even did a video where I was just like crying after doing the 108 sun salutations. And I literally was just like, for 2 days, I didn't think. And it was the greatest feeling I had ever had. And it really opened my eyes and gave me clarity. And then after that, I was just like, I honestly don't know. Like, there weren't words to explain like that feeling of just calm and accomplishment.
Hmm.
Um, and I know that I could have gotten that anywhere else, but I feel like the environment that you created for us and the steps that we went through to get there were so important. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much
Oh,
for talking on the podcast. I'm super
you're so
excited.
welcome. I got goosebumps hearing your
Like,
story.
oh my goodness. You know what? I love your spirit. I love your energy. And honestly, like, even though we've talked just a handful of times before this, I feel like every time we get something out of it, like we both get some kind of insight. So I'm super excited for this podcast.
Yeah, me too.
Um, and we were talking before this about her yoga studio. Right now, she's in the midst of moving her studio. And I was asking her about if she had found a place yet. And we kind of like stopped that conversation to start the podcast because I know that she's going to tell us some wonderful juiciness. So please continue. You are looking for a new place. You believe you found one.
Yeah, so I am looking for a new place. The place that I'm in currently, I think it was a really great place to start. And I think like to launch, so for any of your listeners who are in the Cleveland area, Crocker Park is obviously a huge shopping center. It's well known. It's probably one of the biggest shopping centers in Cleveland, I would say.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, like malls are dead, and this is the
Hmm.
only place that's left
Yeah.
as far as a mall kind of situation. It's outdoors, right? So it's not really even a mall. But
Right.
anyhow, so I just got a great deal on a sublease and it was short. It was like 16 months, which starting my business, I was like, oh, this is like a perfect place to like try it out. I can
Hmm.
afford it. It's well known, like all of the things. The support of Crocker Park, like they offer a lot of marketing help and different ways to network and just to start a business, like it just felt like absolutely the right place.
That's amazing.
As I've been there, the location where I'm actually like my street that I'm on is kind of off the beaten path of Crocker Park. So I'm really not getting the walk-in traffic that I thought I would. Just a lot of things kind of haven't come together in the right way. And my just my thought process around that is just it's really just not the right location for my groovy little weirdo business
Hmm.
in this place full of national retailers. You know, it's the biggest name brands around. And one of the coolest parts of my whole journey has just been like figuring it out. Like that's just I don't necessarily have I mean I have goals and like thoughts, but like
Of
the
course.
destination is unknown. We're just figuring it out.
Right.
Like so I'm looking for this new location and I found a place. And honestly, this location, when I first started dreaming up Flows and Grows, a yoga studio and a plant shop, I just visioned like this kind of older building with like really big windows, floor to ceiling, and like having it kind of like an industrial feel to it with like the softness and the natureness of the plants.
Hmm.
I don't know, just like the aesthetic. That was kind of what I saw. So anyhow, I've gone into this new space and I'm like, man, this really worked. Like this could be it. But at the same time, the timing not might not work out. Like a million things might not work out.
Hmm.
And as you know, I send a weekly email and I've adapted this just like I'm vulnerable always because I
Hmm.
feel like that vulnerability is the only way that I'm going to help others. If people don't feel like they're not alone, then
Hmm.
we are all going to feel alone.
Oh,
So
yes.
if I can like in any way sort of make people like feel at least that like I'm here too. Like we're all going through the crap and
Yeah.
the joy and all the things. Um, and I came from a corporate environment where people, it was like always a secret. Like you had to have like, the upper level people involved in every decision, and you couldn't talk about something until it was like fully baked, and like people's
Hmm.
egos were involved, and like all these things that when I left that environment, I was like, oh, I'm allergic to that stuff. Like, and I've pretty unapologetically, I'm going to say this because it goes through my head all the time, but I feel like I'm walking around with my ass out all the time because
Is
I'm
it?
just like, here's all my shit. Like,
Yep.
but it's not like it's a strategic decision. Like,
Hmm.
it's not that I'm not, I mean, I'm messy because I'm a human, but like I'm not just like a mess who's like, this is wrong and I need help here. And like it's more of that feeling of like, you're not alone. See, I need help.
Hmm.
And so anyhow, so I put out this like back call to my email readers and just said, I'm looking to move locations and I need help. I need you to have your eyes out. And it's been so cool to know that like people are looking. I've gotten
Hmm.
emails back. I've had people reach out to me. I've had Instagram messages from people that I didn't even like people I don't know because I don't know
Hmm.
who all reads my email. Um, saying like, "Oh, hey, I saw this place. Have you looked here? Have you seen this?" And I'm like, "This is what it's about." Like
Hmm.
we we have to help each other because we
Yeah.
can't do it alone. And when you sit in silence, like if I didn't tell a single person that I was looking for a new location, I am positive I wouldn't find the right one.
Absolutely.
Even if I've already found it in this one location that I'm looking at, even if that is the right location, like it might not be, and I wouldn't see all the other options, and there are,
Right.
and I couldn't know, I wouldn't know, I don't know.
No, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. And I don't know if I ever told you this, like the story of how I ended up getting my house.
No.
So me and my ex-husband were looking for a house,
Uh-huh.
and we had found this house. It was like 2,500 square feet. It was like it had like little intercoms to each of the rooms, and like it
Oh,
was an
that's
open
fancy.
floor plan, and like the backyard was little, but like it was still very, very nice. And my ex-husband loved this house.
Uh-huh.
And for the longest time, he was like stuck on this house. And some things ended up happening, some crazy things, not only with the realtor, but with the person that was supposed to like help us like do the redesign and things like that. Like a whole bunch of things started kind of getting into shambles. And while we were sitting there, I was just like, we dropped the offer on the house. And um, he we were still looking at other houses and nothing compared to
Mm-hmm.
this house, and he just
Mm-hmm.
would not let it go. And he was talking about like we were staying in his frat brother's basement, and it was a mess. And I was just like, I said, look, one day I was just like, look, you need to let go of this house. Like we had been doing mindset and like personal development and energetic things and stuff like that, and I was just like, you need to let this house go. I said, we're not going to find our house if we don't let go of this idea that that's the only option.
Right.
And eventually he did. I want to say like with it, like we had that talk and he was like, yeah, no, you're right. So within that week, after he like was like, okay, we're just going to like let the universe do its thing,
Mm-hmm.
this house came up on the market, and it was like for like a steal.
Mm-hmm.
The house was going on a short sale.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we found the house, and he found it. He got the email and he just like sent me a message, and he was like, send it to the realtor, tell her to put a bid in on it. Like we hadn't even seen the house. And I was like, sir, I get it. You're excited, but let's see the house first. But I think that's so true. Like when it comes down to like asking for help and wanting more out of life, sometimes we have to let go of the things that we see in front of us. Sometimes we have to like sidestep a little bit, like
Really?
just walk a little bit down the street and then go, okay, what are the other options?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And people get so tunnel visioned and like when you do have, and I don't think it's everybody, right? But like when you have this like end goal or a vision or whatever, sometimes you miss the opportunities that are actually for you
Mm-hmm.
because you're so focused on this one thing that may not be for you at all.
Oh
And you
yeah.
just don't even know because you
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen what else there is.
Oh yeah. No, I agree. I think there have been so many times in a lot of people's lives where they were like, you know, dang, I missed this opportunity. But I think that a lot of times people don't realize like the opportunities for everything are so abundant
Hmm.
that technically maybe you didn't miss it,
Right, right.
you know? And I think that's really good and going into like mindset and listening to yourself and just really understanding like what it is that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like you said that you used to work in the corporate background
Mhm.
and now you're, a yogipreneur, which by the way, I love it. A
Me too.
yogipreneur.
I don't know if I made it up, but I don't know anybody
I
else who
said,
says
you
that
know
one.
what? I have never heard it before. And when I read it, I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
how did that feel? Like I know that you said like that corporate situation was very kind of like stifling, it sounded like to like what you wanted your life and creativity to be, and then moving into this yogic journey. Like how did that transition feel for you? And what were the things that you like, what were the things that you went through in
Yeah.
your mind?
Such a big question.
I know.
So yeah, and like also it's continually transitioning, right? Like it's always evolving and like changing.
Hmm.
But yeah, so when I was at this company, I mean, I'd been in a corporate environment for not quite 20 years. I don't think I'm quite that old, but like it was she getting real close.
Okay.
And I worked for this particular company for 10 years and I'd like worked my way up. I'd started in sales and I knew sales wasn't for me. Like I didn't feel like that was my life's purpose. And so I moved into human resources where it felt more like I was actually impacting people's lives. And I did a lot of really cool work when I started in HR. I was
Hmm.
in charge of the health and wellness program for the company. So I got to host all these health fairs and do like all kinds of different activities for our associates. And that was really fun because I felt like I was actually 100% improving and involved in and helping these people in their actual lives
Hmm.
outside of work because health and wellness is at work, but it's everywhere, right? So
Right.
I absolutely loved when I was doing that work, and it was very energizing. It did not pay a lot, and obviously in a corporate environment, you're programmed to be driven towards promotions and raises and titles and all of that, right? And
Hmm.
I was sucked right into that, you know. I'm a competitive person in some ways and not in others, but in the way of like working towards success, I'm competitive more towards myself than like other
Hmm.
people. But I got scooped right up into this like, how do I rise in this organization? And I did. I mean, I started to, right? Like I started to take on bigger jobs and bigger
Hmm.
roles and more responsibility. And the more I did that, the less happy I became.
Yeah.
um, the more disconnected from my true being
Hmm.
is really what was happening. And I mean, I had a manager at the time also that I think was, you know, after I lost my job. So I was fired the day we went into lockdown for the pandemic.
Okay.
And I was fired for borrowing 2 pound weights from our gym. And I told no less than 5 people I was borrowing them, including the people who were in charge of them. So, like, I mean, like, if that's a stretch for firing somebody.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Especially somebody who was like with a company for 10 years and never had a bad review. Like all these things,
Hmm.
right? Like I was a good employee. And at the time, you know, it was like, oh, it's the pandemic. It was a business decision. They needed to cut a salary. You can fire
Mm-hmm.
somebody for whatever that you want in Ohio, and that
Right.
they just were like, okay, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
And that felt to me just like a business decision and not very personal. And I was okay with it, you know? And then I found out later that my personal manager, my manager was the one who made the call. And that became more painful because she also
Mm-hmm.
like cut me out of her life completely. And she had been a friend.
Oh,
She like
wow.
deleted me from social media. She deleted my husband. I reached out to her the moment that she had to fire me. I thought she had to fire me. I sent her a text message and said, I'm so sorry you had to do that. Like, I thought she was feeling some type of way. Found out later it was her choice. And then as I started to like review back on it, I was like, oh, you were holding me back. Like I
Mm.
probably didn't like my job as much because you weren't giving me the work that I could do, which is crazy. Why am I telling you this? So, uh, so yeah, so I left the corporate world and was just like, I'm never going back. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're I'm never working for anybody. It is unsafe.
Okay.
I have to create my own future. And I was not a yoga teacher
Okay.
at that time. I was not, I was practicing yoga quite a bit. And once I lost my job, I had nothing to do because it was the pandemic and I had no job. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started doing yoga like, I don't know, 3, 4 times a day. My yoga teacher went digital really well.
Okay.
And so I was able to like just really sink into the practice. And it was a lot of soul searching. And it was like, yoga brings pieces of you to you that you don't know exist.
Mm-hmm.
And the commitment to yourself is one of the things that I love most about yoga because when you show up on your yoga mat consistently, it's like how you do one thing is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yoga really solidifies that for me, in my opinion. Um, so my yoga teacher was like, "Hey, you're killing it. Like you're practicing constantly. You're like living these principles from yoga and all this stuff." And she was like, "What if you became a teacher? I'm about to start a yoga teacher training." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm not doing anything else. That sounds great."
Awesome.
Um, and at that time too, I was just trying to figure out like how do I make money if I'm not going to work for anybody ever again? Like we do have
Mm-hmm.
to contribute to society in this world. Like you can't not generate income.
Of course.
So I was trying a lot of the things that I thought I knew, like I'd been a CrossFit coach and a holistic health coach kind of outside of work.
Mm-hmm.
So I started just coaching people on how to count macros and like lose weight because that's what I knew how to do. And as I went through this yoga journey, that started to feel really icky. Like I didn't want to teach people because teaching people to diet is basically teaching them how to hate themselves,
Yeah.
which felt just so gross after I was going through all this healing stuff with yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, so yoga just started becoming like more and more a part of my life and more what I wanted to share. And I took yoga online. I had like an online, I was calling it an online studio through Patreon where I was offering recorded classes. I was teaching everywhere I could. At one point, I was teaching like 12 classes a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I was still really trying to do this like health coaching thing online. I thought that that was where I was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of 2022, I just kind of was doing like a year in review and looking at like where are you making money? Where are you spending all of your time and effort? Where are you getting the most joy? Where are you getting the most energy? Like just like a whole inventory.
Mm-hmm.
And I very quickly saw that like it was leaning heavily towards yoga. Like that's where I was making money. That's where I was getting lit up. And the online coaching was where I was spending all my time in like marketing and selling,
Mm-hmm.
like posts and all the things. Like, and I was getting nothing out of it. It
Yeah.
was like all give and no get, no receive, which is not how I think business
Mm-hmm.
should be.
I agree.
Yeah. So that's when I decided that I was going to open up Flows and Grows. And I've always been just like a plant lover, like hobbyist, maybe since I was born. Like my mom had plants growing up. It really started to kick into high gear in like college.
Mm-hmm.
And I never saw it as something that could be a career path.
Okay.
I just thought, I mean, this is my plant room.
I love
And
it.
actually all my plants are outside. So like this is like not even anything. But so I thought of this like yoga studio and a plant shop yeah, yoga studio and a plant shop idea. And I was like, well, let's test it. Let's see what happens. And I feel like that's like the yogipreneur. Like, yes, I'm a yoga teacher,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also looking at business through the yogic lens
Mm-hmm.
more than, I don't even know that like I'll always I'll always be a yoga teacher. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know that I'm always going to be a yoga. I don't even know. I just know that yoga, if I follow the path, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to lead me to the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that is. So like I don't know that it's always going to be yoga. I don't know that it's always going to be plants. Like I don't know what that looks like, but if I continually stay on the path, then
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be the right place. Um yeah, and like things are even changing now. Like my plant my and I guess why I'm saying that also is like what I'm finding now after having this brick and mortar studio, I'm starting to notice that what people really want from me
Mm-hmm.
is plants more than
Oh.
yoga.
Ah.
Which in some ways kind of like, oh God, no. Because I have like such a deep love for yoga and I want to share it with
Mm-hmm.
people and that sort of thing. But it's like, um, you came to the alignment event
Mm-hmm.
and I'm starting to just view yoga differently, maybe. Is like maybe it's not that weekly class schedule kind of situation. Maybe it's more like events like the one that you came to, or
Mm-hmm.
including more people, bringing more people into the space and not a traditional, like we have 12 classes a week, people have a
Right.
membership, like that sort of thing. Like maybe that's not what it looks like. And to me, it's also becoming like this yogipreneur mindset and the flows and grows business is more than flows being yoga and grows being plants. It's
Mm-hmm.
more of like, this is also a business that is continuing to flow and grow and like reach for that higher next thing that might not be the expectation when I set out,
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to be so much better.
I totally agree. Like I hear everything that you're saying because I think, and it was funny because as you were talking, I was like, I wonder like if flows and grows was like something that you thought of because of like there's yoga and there's plants, or like if that's what you thought, and then of course as you're going along, you're like, no, no, that's actually not what that means.
Yeah, yeah. And it does mean that. Like that is
Right.
originally like on my 40th birthday, I was sitting with all my best friends and I was, about halfway through my yoga teacher training and we're sitting, it was the pandemic, it was 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like heavy February 2021 pandemic days. We went out to dinner at Luca, which is like a very fancy restaurant. We were like the only people there. And anyhow, I told my friends, I was like, hey guys, I don't know. I'm like seeing this like yoga studio in a plant shop and it's called Flows and Grows. And they were like, that's genius. Like, go do it.
I think it's
I was
great.
like, I don't know. I'm probably not. And it was like 2 years later that I actually opened.
No, but that's great. I think that I love the fact that you are allowing um your journey to really be what your business is set out to be. Like it's really meant to flow and grow into what you wanted.
Hmm.
And I wonder, like, when you're going through that, like, because you've been practicing yoga for so long and you're talking about these yogic practices, like
Hmm.
I'm like a yoga beginner. I like, I've been to a few classes. I started like I did yoga a long time ago to like help with like trauma
Uh-huh.
release, which I didn't know was a thing, but apparently it's a thing.
Oh,
And now I don't do it as often, but
mhm.
when I do get a chance to like come to your workshop or go to a class or something like that, if I have the time, I definitely try to do that.
Yeah.
So I wonder how how your yogic practices play into you being a business owner and like being able to have that lens, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the number one thing, and I said this, I think at the beginning, or maybe it was before we were talking, before we started recording, but like I think that one of the greatest lessons, and I wouldn't even say that I'm advanced in my, like, I don't even know if there is an advanced yoga
I don't know
practice.
either.
Like an advanced yoga practice to me is like committing to show up for yourself.
Mhm.
And I say that at the end of every single class that I teach. Everybody says like the namaste, and teachers generally say a couple words before the close, but I always say like, thank you so much for choosing to show up for yourself today. And I say that not because like I want them to be thankful to themselves, although I do want that, but like also thank you because the more that you're showing up for yourself in this world, the more you're giving to
Mm.
like that energy is like you're bringing it in, but then you're shooting it right back out. Like as soon as
Mhm.
you step off your mat, like you're giving like the world is a better place because you chose to show up for yourself today. And
Mhm.
I think for me, that's just one of the biggest things is has that yoga has taught me is like that physical practice of stepping on your mat and moving through poses. And while you're doing it, you notice things like how do you speak to yourself when
Mhm.
you're uncomfortable or when something feels easy or when like right like you hear the voice in your head more clearly. And that
Mhm.
when you hear it and when you know what's happening, that's when you can change it.
Mhm.
Because if you just let it run wild without ever taking a step back to be like, what's happening in my brain? Like, why is my brain behaving the way that it is? But when you can see it from more of a meditative perspective, like,
Mhm.
meditation, you're not trying to stop your thoughts. Like, that's not possible, but
Right.
you're seeing what they are.
Mhm.
And so I think that, like, you know, once you're able to kind of hone that skill, then the way that you do all the rest of the things in your life start to change.
Oh yeah.
I don't know that I would be here at all. I mean, I would not be here at all had I not taken that yoga teacher training.
Mhm.
And whether or not I stay a yoga teacher for the rest of my life or own a yoga business for the rest of my life, I don't know. But I do know that I will always be a practitioner who lives my life the yoga way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. You said so many key points in here as you were talking, and I was just like, yes, give me more, give me more. Um, I'm telling you, like, I'm literally on like the edge of my seat. Like, we are on a Zoom call, and I'm like leaning in every time she's talking because I'm just like, give me all the things, right? Because it's so good. Like telling people, that doing yoga or even any commitment to yourself is really showing up for you. And honestly, that's all anybody needs in this world is
Mhm.
for you to show up for you so that that love that you've given yourself will come from you
Yeah.
in all the things that you do. And I think that's so great.
And it's the thing that, like, I hear people all the time, all the time, when I'm like, I tell them about the yoga studio and you should come take a class or whatever.
Hmm.
And I hear people continually say, "Oh, I just don't really have time. Like, all these things, da 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 da." Da." And I'm like,
Hmm.
you're missing your life then because you're not making time for anything. If you're not
Yeah.
making time for you, then your life is going by quickly.
Hmm.
You're not here for it.
Oh yeah.
And it bums me out. Like, man, you only get one spin on this planet. Like, be in it. And also, I wasn't, I was that person. Like,
Hmm.
before I started my yoga practice, like, I was in the corporate rat race of like, the hamster wheel that's just going and going and going. And like, I don't know where all that time went that I was in.
Hmm.
Like, I don't think that I was present really for any of it. I don't know that I definitely know I wasn't living my purpose.
Hmm.
Anything that really truly like from my deepest guts, like it didn't feel like magic.
Hmm.
Like
Oh, I love
so it
that.
bums me out when people are like, oh, I'd love to practice yoga, but I can't touch my toes and I'm busy. I'm like, okay. Well, when you decide that that's painful, because sometimes we don't make changes until it hurts real bad,
Right.
like, let me know. I'll guide your practice. Like,
Yeah.
come on over.
No, I
That's
completely understand that. I understand that so much. I think that, like, I think I may have told you this in like previous talks, but like I've been on my own personal healing journey for at
yeah,
this point what feels like years. And I think you said it best at the beginning where you were just like, I don't know the destination. Like that is definitely a question mark, but I'm working towards what makes me happy, what makes me joyful, things like that. And
yeah,
I think it's so interesting when you talk to people and you can, they talk and you can tell that they're miserable and that they want to make a change. And they're like, but I don't know how. And then you have people like us and we're just like, it starts with you. Like
yeah.
just make one commitment to yourself. I literally just did a recorded a podcast about commitment. And I was just like, it doesn't matter what that looks like. Like it could look like doing yoga. It could look like for myself, stop drinking. It could
Yeah.
look like adding carrots to your diet. Like whatever it is. It doesn't have to be this huge overhaul.
Yeah.
But one thing that we don't realize is that we can literally just give ourselves just a little bit of time. And it doesn't have to be a whole lot of time starting out. I think that people are always like, oh, I have to commit an hour to myself every day. And it's like, let's work up to that. Today,
Right.
you can only commit 2 minutes to yourself, and that could be you jogging in place. Like, whatever it
Yeah.
is, staring at your plants,
Yeah.
meditating, like
Yeah.
anything. And I think people, really, I think people think too big on like what it is to really like love yourselves and like care about yourselves
Hmm.
instead of actually doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like a bigger task than it actually is,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know? And for me too, like I'm in a like full transparency in the past, I don't know, like Flows and Grows opened in at the end of August. And
Okay.
since then, my personal like step on the mat yoga practice has started to like really trickle away. Like the busier I am teaching other people yoga, the less I'm doing it myself.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Mm-hmm.
my yoga practice is present, it exists. I am now more practicing things like meditation. I have a commitment to myself that I walk every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a moving meditation for me. You know, take the headphones off, be in nature. I live in the metro parks, is right behind my house. So like, you start to realize too when you get deeper in your yoga practice that like that
Mm-hmm.
sweaty physical on your mat practice is like that's a part of it. It's really not. It's and it's most people's like gateway, right? Like it's how you
Yeah.
start. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
it's not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been kind of cool. And at the same time, like I really miss taking yoga classes like a lot. And I know that, my long-term goals get me back on that mat more regularly, but right now, and again, flowing and growing through life, I'm not fighting it. Like I'm not going to be mad at myself because I can't do it or because it's just not in me or because this moment in my life looks a little bit different than what I thought it would or what it will look like tomorrow. Like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So today it's just the things that I can do. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I feel like that's what yoga teaches you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I think it wasn't until later that I realized that yoga was like a movement meditation. Because we usually hear meditation and we think like, oh, we have to sit in a room and we have to be quiet and we have to like, listen to our
Not think.
thoughts or look at our thoughts and like, not think. I think that's the funniest, I do think that's the funniest thing about like meditation. Everybody's like, it's a place where you like don't think. And I'm like, well, no.
No,
That
no.
actually that doesn't happen to a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, I've never, I just met this man who was incredible and he may be doing like some workshops at Flows and Grows and he went on a retreat where he was meditating for 12 hours a day on this retreat. And I was like, that is wild. It was silent also. So I don't remember how many days, but it was completely silent. He meditated for 12 hours a day. It's like being a monk or whatever. Like, and he was like, it was the most powerful experience of my life. And I
Interesting.
believe it. I really do. But man, what discipline.
Is it man? No, listen. Okay, you said it. I don't. And again, nobody can see this but Emily right now. But you said that this man meditated for 12 hours a day, and my face started to frown because I was like, what do you mean? You have to be quiet for no. Like, and it's funny because like during my like the chakra alignment that I do every year, in the throat chakra section, they
Mhm.
have a silent meditation. Now, this one is like, I think they said that you can do it for like 2 to 8 hours, which sounds like a lot, especially for someone like me who like talks a lot.
Mhm.
Which is why I started a podcast so that I could just talk, right? Um, but like I remember the very first time I did this, and I was like, they were like, you can't listen to music, you can't do anything that has like communication, if that makes sense. So no texting, no emails, no doing work, things like that.
Yeah.
Which by the way is like my own little personal hell. Where I'm not listening to music, I'm not doing anything like this sucks.
Yeah.
But what I noticed is like kind of like what you were saying, like with yoga, where you're like sitting and you're like looking at your thoughts and saying, like, what kind of things are actually going on in my mind? What kind of negative self-talk is there? Like things
Mhm.
like that is like that's what I noticed while I was cleaning my basement. And doing this silent meditation, it's like you start to notice things about yourself that you're like, oh, I really I hadn't thought about this before. And I
Mhm.
think that's what happened when we did the 108 salutation sun salutation portion
Uh-huh.
of the workshop, because I remember sitting there like I there were quite a few of us, and I just remember like when we first started, I was like, all of these people are better at yoga than I am. They've been coming to classes more and more and more. And they've been doing this for longer than I have. And then it was like, they're gonna finish before me. And I was like, why? Like kind of like peeking over and seeing like the person next to me, and they're like already putting, several stones into their thing as they're counting their sun salutations, and I just put in one. Like, and you start to notice these things, and I think that's why like afterwards I kind of just like didn't have thoughts for a couple of days,
Mhm.
because I sat back and I thought about what I'm doing. It was kind of like, Tay, you're in your own lane. This
Mhm.
is your lane.
Mhm.
Nurture your lane and take care of your lane,
Right.
instead of trying to figure out, I'm getting emotional,
That's
trying to
okay.
figure out how to be in somebody else's lane and
Right.
what they're doing.
Right.
And I wonder, like, I think about your business and where it's going. Like, how has that shaped your idea of what your business looks like?
How has like staying in my lane?
Yeah, like how has like really listening to your intuition, understanding that this is what you want to do and not this isn't everybody else's dream, this is
Yeah.
your dream. Like how has that shaped you, you know, going
Oh,
on your path with flows and grows?
yeah, I mean, holy, it's shaped me like completely. Like, I am absolutely not the same person I was 4 years ago when I set out on this journey. Like, and I didn't know who I would be, and I don't know who I will be. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's really freaking exciting. Um,
Agreed.
I think like a few things that I do because it's so hard not to live in comparison.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard, especially in like the age of social media. Like, it's bonkers. And I've worked with a business coach for a long time now who, business coaching is life coaching. Let's be
Yeah,
honest
it is.
about it.
Yes,
It's all the same,
it's all the
especially when
same.
you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Um, and oh crap, what was I gonna say? Oh, she's just gotten like she teaches very well, like looking at your thoughts, understanding how your thoughts are shaping your actions and what results you're getting from that. And like, so, really analyzing that a lot. And I've made a lot of changes by using that kind of mindset of like, when I feel this way, what do I behave? Like, how do I behave? And
Mm-hmm.
as far as like staying in my lane, I think one of the best things that I've done is like, you can like mute people on Instagram, like not unfriend them.
Yes.
I feel like that is one of the most beautiful features in the whole entire world because anybody that ever makes me feel competitive to them or makes me feel and it has nothing to do with them, right? It has everything
Mm-hmm.
to do with me. Like other people's lives have nothing to do with mine.
Right.
But like, certain yoga studios make me feel a certain kind of way. And so I'm just like mute. I don't want to know what you're doing. I certainly don't want to copy what you're doing.
Right.
I know for certain that my magic is mine and
Mm-hmm.
that my people will find me because of that. But if I'm looking at yours and comparing myself or um, changing something because I think, oh, you're doing it right and I'm not, like, that's not the answer. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that is not going to create my best business or my best life.
Yeah.
You got to put that mute feature on. If we could do it like talk, like every, like in person, like
I
mute,
love that. Oh
wouldn't
my
that be great?
gosh. That just like it's literally like putting on your blinders. Like if you
Totally.
think about look, some random facts that I know. With horses, when they do their races, when they're doing
Uh,
horse racing, they actually have blinders on so that they cannot see the horses in the next lane to them.
yeah,
Because at the end of the day, it's not about the other horses. It's about
right.
what they're focused on, what they're doing.
Yeah,
And I think that's so important for
yeah,
people to know, especially when it comes to like transformation and healing and just being on your own personal journey, whatever that may be.
right.
That it you really don't have to like you don't have to see the things that you don't want to see. Like I definitely agree. You know what the funny thing is I've never thought about actually like muting creators where I was like where I felt competitive towards.
Oh,
But one
those
of the
down.
things, oh my goodness. But one of the things that I did start doing really like I have this big goal of like getting off of social media for my business completely.
Oh,
Um, for the simple fact that I don't want to be a content creator. I don't want to get on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok every day or, make batch content of like what I'm doing because I'm out living life. Like I
yeah.
hardly have my phone on me to begin with, let alone like, let me go ahead and like snap a picture of this thing so I can like share it with the world, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think like for me, that was like that's a big thing. So like even though I'm utilizing social media right now, I'm definitely not like I'm not in it all the time. Like
Mhm.
sometimes I'm just like, you know, it's like your weekly emails that you send to us with your thoughts. You're kind of just like, yep, this is what I'm thinking for
Mhm.
today or whatever. And you're just like, zoop, like it's done. And like
Yeah.
that's kind of how I feel. It's like sometimes I don't feel like posting because
Yeah.
I'm living my life. I'm
Right.
living in my lane. And if I feel like I have to like compare myself to another creator or something like that, I'm just gonna start doing that. I'm just gonna start meeting people. I think
Do
it's great.
it. It is liberation. And and it's going to make you more creative because when you see other people doing something that is actually stifling your creation,
Oh my gosh. Yes, I
you're
agree.
less likely to have bigger thoughts because their thoughts are minimizing yours, like, yeah, I don't really want to know what other people are doing.
Yeah. And I think that's where the comparison piece comes in because it's like, oh, well, maybe if I do this, like this will help me in this area. But then like at the same time, like you could do it and it could be great or it could flop. And then what happens? Then you're like down on yourself because oh, it didn't work for you. And you're like, why are we even thinking about that? Like
Totally.
let's
Totally.
let's do what we're doing. I think that's probably been the biggest thing um, for a lot of people when they start their own business, like really looking at themselves and being like, okay, who is Tay? Who is Emily? Like
Mhm.
who are we? Like what are we doing? And I love the fact that you like go with what feels great to you. Like
Mhm.
I feel like getting out of that, corporate life, even though it wasn't the best way that you were released from it, but being able to do that really helped you say, okay, there are a lot of things over here that felt icky.
Yeah.
We're not going to have that in my business. Like we're not going to do that stuff.
Right. Well, and even though the way I was let go of my job feels icky, it is the only way that I would have taken this path,
Mm-hmm.
period. And I am
Mm-hmm.
super clear on that. Like, I know that it was meant to be. And I know the universe said, here's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I very easily could have been like, no thanks. I need a lot. I need a job. I need money. I need status. I need a title.
Security, right.
yeah, security, whatever. And instead I was like, oh, I'm gonna open the box. Let's see what's in
Yeah.
the box. And then, I think too, whatever your higher power is, um, people always like pray for the things that they want,
Hmm.
right? Like I think it's not about like the prayer for asking for like, I want these things. It's like noticing what you're being given and then
Mm.
taking it because you're being given gifts like constantly by your higher power. Like
Yeah.
the universe wants you to succeed, wants your gifts to go out into the universe and make it better, like constantly. But
Hmm.
if you're not looking for it, if you don't have your eyes open, and again, that's like a yoga thing, right? Like
Right.
being ready to receive and being present enough to notice when those gifts show up. And I didn't know, I mean, when I lost my job, that was not the thoughts in my head,
Of course.
but for whatever reason, it was probably trauma. Trauma was my gift. I was like, I'm never working for anybody again.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it worked out.
No, I think that's great. One of the things like when I made my switch from trauma release to transformation and spiritual coaching, that was one of the things for me that really solidified my path. And just like you, I know that it's going to grow in a different direction.
Yeah.
But it really was like, how does this business make me feel? I love the fact that I'm helping people and all of that jazz. But then like I was looking at other coaches and I was like, oh, they're doing these things and I'm not as successful in this. So like maybe something is wrong with me. Maybe something's wrong with my coaching. And then I realized like, no, it's not that. It's just that I wasn't sitting in the power that I have and the skills that I have to be able to help these people in the same way that somebody else was helping them. And being able to see that growth. And I think that like you said, like, although I'm not in yoga, one of the things that I look at is like, okay, what are the things that I have and that I can give and that are going to still be me?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so important. And I think just talking with you multiple times has like really made me realize like, you know, it's not always about what happened before or what's going to happen in the future. Like it really is about now, like what that looks like, how you feel in this moment, and what you decide to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm pretty sure that's the reason why I love talking to you because you're always just like, today is a gift. Let's open it up and see what happens.
Yeah. 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 And truly, I mean, not quite 2 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, actually lost a friend of mine who, he lost a very quick battle to cancer. And, it's like that he was 37. And it's like that reminder that like this was a very healthy man. He was a physical therapist. So like out there healing people and
Mm-hmm.
he dedicated so much of his time and energy, and like, I mean, I think he also lived a very happy life. Like he had
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful wife and kids, the whole nine. But it's that reminder, when you lose somebody like that, it's like tomorrow's not coming, maybe. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't you don't know. Like you gotta do the thing now. You gotta
Mm-hmm.
plan for the future, obviously, but like
Right.
it may not come. So
Right.
make sure that this now time is like full.
Mm-hmm. And I am so sorry to hear about the loss of your friend. My boss just recently lost someone too, and I know that can be very hard. Especially
It's
when
sure.
you said it was like so quick, like especially when it's like that. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
it
so
really.
sorry to hear that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, but and at the same time, it's just I feel so lucky that I knew him and that
Mm-hmm.
he was just a really great person. And when you think about the people that he helped, he healed up my body many times with different
Mm-hmm.
physical therapy, my husband, like yeah, it's a bummer, but I think he was one of those people that was out there living his purpose. He built a company.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was doing it. He was doing the thing. So I'm certain that on his last day, he was. feeling pretty full.
Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
I think that's really important for people to hear. It's like I did a podcast about timing and how time really is just an illusion. Like it's just something
Oh,
that
isn't it
it's
though?
I was like, this is like a made up construct to keep people depressed. Like because we're just like constantly trying to like we're in this rat race of like trying to get things done and when we don't realize like we're already doing the things.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just continue to do that, continue to be present, continue to give of yourself, continue to love, continue to
Yeah.
care. Um, and at the end of the day, like I know that, tomorrow I'm still going to, I still want to pursue, like you said, I still want to pursue the things. We still want to pursue the things, but know that are you happy with what you put out today so that if
Right.
something did happen tomorrow, you'd be secure in that, like I
Yeah.
did great,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah. Man, it's crazy that like time is an illusion and time is made up, yet it's all we have.
It's all we have.
It's all we have to give. Like giving your time to someone is like the greatest gift.
I agree. I agree. I personally agree with that. Like that's something that I do often. Like when you think about the five love languages, like quality time, that is my number one.
Same.
And like it's one of those things where you're like, I'm doing this because I want to, because
Right.
it's something that I enjoy. I
Yeah.
think that a lot of people sometimes in real life, like you said, even though it's an illusion and it's fake and made up, like we still take it. I think some people take it for granted and really just like because they're like, oh well, I have time. And it's just
Right.
like,
You don't.
do we? Do we really now? Right?
Watch out with that mindset.
Is that right?
Trap.
Like
It's a trap.
it's a trap. It's a trap. Um, no, you know what? I really enjoyed this conversation and I want to kind of start wrapping things up because although we've been talking for a while and we've had so many good little tidbits, like I am so, so happy that you were able to get on the call with me today.
Me too. I
Um,
appreciate the time we spent together.
Absolutely, seriously. Yes. I'm gonna like walk through the rest of my day just like on little clouds because this conversation has been so just fulfilling.
Yeah.
Um, so before we go, there's a couple of things that I want to do. So one of the first things is on my podcast, at the end of each episode, I do a Trinity. And this is basically just an exercise that you first tell something that you want to brag about. You secondly tell something that you are grateful for. And the third thing is that um, something that you desire. Now, I did not tell you about this beforehand, so you could
You
not think of
didn't.
something. So, as we bring our session to a close, um, what is something that you want to brag about today?
So something I want to brag about is that through this twisty, windy journey that I've been on, I've recently, I've always been like, one of the things that I've been saying to myself over and over again is like, I just want something to come easy. Like it's felt, although very enjoyable, like it's work, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
finding your life's purpose
Of course.
and then making money from it is a lot of work. And again, the journey is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and recently I've started to find that people want my plant knowledge.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of plant knowledge in my brain. And so I am here to brag about the fact that I'm a wizard when it comes to plants.
Yes.
And I am helping people right now. Um, I'm helping people like have beautiful plants in their homes. I'm going to their houses and like repotting and pruning and teaching, and it's just been like super fun.
That's
And it's
awesome.
coming easy. Like people want it without me like asking them to want it, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just this new little thing that I found, and I'm like, cool.
That is awesome. And I think, first of all, I think that's great. I have seen your emails on it and I've just started like gardening if
Yeah.
you will, and like planting things and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I might need your assistance.
Yeah, I don't know anything about outdoor plants. So if you're gardening, that is not, I don't know anything. If
No,
it's inside plants, yes.
no, see, and that's the thing. I want to start doing inside plants, and because I have cats, I'm gonna have to like, I know I'm gonna have to hang them. So I would probably be talking to you about the best hanging plants to be in
And
front of
pet
my
safe.
beautiful window and pet safe plants. So I'm glad I know someone with that knowledge. So, I don't hurt my fur babies.
But we're bragging about it because I know about plants and I love it
That is
about myself.
awesome. Yes. All right. Now, what are you grateful for today?
I mean, that's easy. This conversation has just been so soul-filling and
Yes.
wonderful, and I just enjoy you so much, and I'm so grateful that we got to spend time together.
Same. No, I absolutely adore you. And I think that I love the fact that you are just so open and so giving and really show that within your business. And that just, I really have like wanted to have people in my life who were just like basically like me, who were just like open-minded and giving and loving and
Yeah,
caring. And I found that in you. So like
yeah.
I'm grateful for you as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And last but not least, your desire, something that you desire.
Huh. Something I desire. I desire a lot of things. And for no, I'm not even gonna say that. That is just silly.
I don't, you know what? I don't think so. I mean, your desires are your desires. And
Okay, so like a big like life goal desire is I desire a greenhouse.
oh,
I desire that. Like I feel like that is my end game goal of like for my business and for my happy life and for me to like retire in and just spend my days like I don't know. I just that's it's like a desire. I don't know that that's like I think really what I also desire is to have a successful business that makes my life peaceful and enjoyable and brings a lot of life-changing value to my clients and my students and the people that I'm here to serve.
mhm. First of all, I think that both of those desires are wonderful. And I will tell you why. As soon as you said greenhouse, and I was like, oh, I can see it now. Like this huge, like wonderful place. You'd have like these wonderful like chairs all over the place so that people could just come in and sit and take in. It kind of like in my brain, it kind of looks like the botanical gardens. Have you been there?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's what I imagined for you. Like that greenhouse
Aw.
idea, I was like, oh my gosh, like, and I could totally see you just going around and just being great. Like,
And having cool events in there.
yes,
Not like events like a cocktail party, events like
right.
alignment workshops and
Mhm.
yoga teacher trainings and having masters of their skill come in and share that with people in like this place that's like full of like roots and growth
Oh,
and life and like yeah
everything. And I think
and
that's
goals.
it's a beautiful desire. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful desire to have. And when it comes to your business, I already know that you're touching lives. Like you are touching everybody that you come in contact with your
Oh,
emails, with your classes, with your newly plants helping people around the world. Like that is just, you are touching so many lives. And again, the reason you're here is because you've touched my life. So I
thank you.
really do appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Now, before we go, definitely want to make sure that you get to promote any of the services or any offerings that you have
Yeah.
for the people listening to this podcast.
Yeah, so I've always got my yoga classes going on at Flows and Grows. I teach vinyasa classes. I've got a couple teachers who teach amazing classes. One is teaching yin, the other one is teaching kind of like a really groovy, just really traditional like vinyasa that's not you're not going to be doing sit-ups or jumping jacks or crunches. She just has this like really mature practice that's so traditional and beautiful. And so both of my teachers are amazing. My classes are my classes, and I love teaching them. I teach yin, I teach slow, I teach everything. And then my newest service with my plants that I was bragging about, super fun. I'm going into people's homes. The service that people want the most, it seems, is I'm calling it a good zhuzh.
Okay.
And so I just come and zhuzh up your plants. We repot, we make sure that they're in the right soil, they're in the right windows, they're pruned, they're pretty. And also, whenever I do this, I mean, I'm helping people with their plants, right? But like, I spend an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, like chatting with people too while I'm
Yeah.
doing it. And that's super magical. I love it.
That is so awesome. I'm so happy for you and finding this new path as well that you're just like, yes, I love this. And I think that's so great. Like watching you light up about this is just amazing because like I think when you like see people who really enjoy what they do, like you would expect that they would light up about it.
Yeah.
And you definitely have that glow. So yes, to all the good things. How can people reach
Blowing and
you?
growing. What was that?
How can people reach you and how can people learn more about you?
Instagram, flows and grows with dots between the and on either side of the and. So flows.and.grows on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, Flows and Grows. I send a weekly email that is something that I love doing. It's definitely like a journal. I mean, you guys just get the deepest workings of my brain for the most part.
We
And then
do. And I enjoy them. I enjoy every one. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, look, if I'm ever missing an email, I'm like texting immediately, like, what's happening? What's going on? Where you at?
And then the weeks, like there have been weeks that I'm like, I don't know. I don't have anything. Sorry.
You're just like, nah.
But I love you and I'm thinking about you, and that's all I got.
Yeah, no. And look, and I love that about you is that you're staying true to yourself. You're staying true to, being open with everyone and just being like, yo, like today I'm living my life,
Yep. That's the
you
way it goes.
know?
That's all we got.
Yeah, no, thank you so much again for being here. I really appreciate this.
You.
And of course, anytime that you want to come on and talk about anything that you're doing and brag about all of your wonderfulness, like you are more than welcome to do so.
I will be back with joy.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You.
And thank you so much for listening out there. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. Thank you for listening to Dear Tay, You Got This. If you liked this podcast episode and found it helpful, please subscribe today and share this episode with a friend. If you have any questions, comments, wins, or would like to be featured on this podcast, please call or text 330-552-7234 or email info@desirablephoenix.com. See you next week.